Well, here it is, Super Metroid. Man, it was tough to get this video out, let me tell you. I can talk about every room in this game for hours on end, but I wanted to have it be a little bit coherent when I talk about this game. That means a lot to me. I feel like it deserves a lot of respect rather than just me babbling on about how this room and this room and this room are designed. But, well, here's the video, Super Metroid. Yeah, it's really super. Before this was Metroid, and there was Metroid 2, and those games are just okay. I have videos for those. But now here comes the version for the Super Nintendo, the big bad Super Nintendo, and it's Super Metroid! It deserves that title. This is the game that made Metroid a household name, and this is the game that really kicked off the Metroidvania genre that's ever present today. One of them, because well, the other one I'll talk about someday, but not right now. I get to talk about Super Metroid right now. Before you even start the game, the box art is just cool. It just looks cool. Look at it. It depicts Samus engaged in a battle with her fearsome nemesis Ridley, who's received a major upgrade from his NES days. The art even escapes the usual boundaries of the border, with Samus bursting into the foreground. It might be one of the greatest Super Nintendo box arts of all time, and that's really saying something, because there's some good ones. Everything is just oozing with personality and is drawn beautifully. I could spend 5 minutes just staring at the art on the cartridge when I have it in my Super Nintendo. But get this. Not only is there great art, but there's a great game to play, too. And you gotta love the opening sequence as well. The music is just so unnerving, and yet it's entrancing in a way. Like, it just forces you to look at it. And the way it transitions into the familiar Metroid title music is just perfect. This might be my favorite Metroid title theme in the series. It's enough to where I just can't skip the intro each time I play the game. I have to sit there and watch it because it's just so good. It just really brings you into the game. The game's presentation is overall vastly improved from the first two games, and it's no doubt due to the superior hardware of the Super Nintendo. The story, which, yeah, there is a story this time, picks up right where the last game left off, with Samus dropping off the baby Metroid to scientists so they can conduct research on it. However, Sarah Station's attacked by Ridley, who steals the baby Metroid and returns to Zebes. Now, people might complain about this opening text crawl. It might be too long, or, you know, you can't skip it or anything. I think it's a good way to recap what happened previously and kick off the plot. And plus, this is the only time the game does this. The rest of the story is told through the environment, unlike some later entries, which we'll get to. And although Sarah Station is a bit boring on repeat playthroughs, it is a good introduction to how Samus controls. Heck, I mean, it's almost like a mini self-contained Metroid game in and of itself, with how it ends with an escape sequence to get used to having to do that kind of thing. And yeah, you do fight Ridley here, and he's way more intimidating than before. I mean, as I said, he got a bit of a facelift from the NES. It allows him to be the terrifying pterodactyl thing he was always meant to be. The swinging tail had become a staple of every appearance henceforth. Samus controls buttery smooth in this game. People often say that Samus controls too floaty in this game, and I've never seen that. If they really think that's bad, I mean, play NES Metroid and then come back to me. And I've always noted that controls are the #1 factor in making a game truly great. You know, people think maybe the graphics need to be good, the music needs to be good, but if the game controls in a way that's fun, and it makes sense, and it just feels good to play the game, I think that's the most important thing. And to me, Super Metroid nails it. There's perfect controls to make the game feel like an extension of yourself whenever you play. And that's the best thing you can say about a game's controls. It feels like the you and the game are interconnected at a brainwave level. And if that wasn't enough, the game looks and sounds great too. Every area looks distinct from one another. And this game was the first to include defining landmarks in certain rooms to make identifying where you've been much easier. I've been going on about that in the last two reviews. One that comes to mind for me is the glass tube connecting Brinstar and Meridia. There's lots of smaller examples here and there. And yet, even though the game contains all these little landmarks and the rooms all are distinct from one another, it also includes a fucking map, which was very needed. Seriously, that would have helped so much in the last two games. And here, I mean, it helps, obviously. On the auditory side, every music track suits the area it's used in quite well. providing the atmosphere that sucks you into the world. Not only that, but the sound effects even are vastly improved. I love all the unique noises that enemies make when they're hurt. It showcases the variety in Zebes' ecosystem, which was sorely lacking in previous entries. I mean, look, here's one wall-crawling enemy in the original Metroid, and here's a different wall-crawling enemy in the original Metroid. Like, they're the same thing. But here, when you hurt them, they make, like, different sounds. And that's really interesting. Plus, there are certain sounds that are just satisfying to the ear, like the power bomb. The main objective within the game is to kill the 4 major bosses: Kraid, Phantoon, Dragon, and Ridley. However, there are certain things blocking your progression, which you obviously need the game's various upgrades for. The items work amazingly well for the spots in which they're given. It's really well designed, like every item is useful in some way. There's the classics, you got Morph Ball, missiles, bombs, various suits, screw attack. There's also some new power-ups, like the Grapple Beam, which lets you swing from blocks. There's also super missiles and power bombs, which are upgraded versions of missiles and bombs. Charge Beam is added in this game, and it's a powerful option if you run out of missiles. There's also the Gravity Suit, which turns Samus purple and allows her to move freely underwater without its density slowing you down. I love the purple look. It's almost synonymous with the game itself. Like, if I'm ever thinking of Super Metroid, then I'm thinking about purple Samus, you know? I think the only thing I don't like about the items is that every time you collect one, you have to stop and listen to the item collect fanfare. And it's fine for the major items, but it also happens for, like, less important stuff like missiles. It gets monotonous after a little while. And the thing is, the previous game, Metroid 2, had a shorter variation for the missile upgrades, so I'm not really sure why they went back on that. I also don't really like how you're forced to backtrack to get some items. I'm not talking about going through Brinstar or something again, like just circling around it, you know. That's fine, it's to be expected. You go back in areas with your new items. I'm talking about the areas where you're forced to go through twice just to collect all the items. With the most egregious example being these 2 missiles in Criteria. There's a set of crumble blocks in the middle, so you drop down on one side and you can't go back up to get to the other one. You have to go through the whole gauntlet again. And the worst part is it's very easy to just fuck it up and fall the wrong way. I mean, you have to go through that again. I can't really think of another example of that, but it's annoying. There's also those spots in the wrecked ship where you have, if you fall, you gotta go all the way back to Sand and Meridia. But, you know, those times are really few and far between, mostly because I can't think of any other ones. Most of the time, as long as there isn't something blocking the way to an item, you're free to get them whenever you want. The progression in this game is exceptionally well done. Each new upgrade is another piece of the map you can go to. At the start, you can only access Criteria, but getting the items allows you to venture into more places. For example, Norfair is blocked off by heat damage, which can be avoided with the Various suit, same with Meridia and the Gravity suit. Ridley's lair is blocked off by a massive pit of lava that requires space jump in order to surface to the other side. And there's major stuff, but most of the items open up new areas to explore in some way. However, another flaw comes through in that the game doesn't tell you what the item does. And, I mean, most time you can figure it out organically, but the example I think of is the Various suit, which, if you don't know already that it nullifies heat damage, I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to find that out. Maybe just, like, I don't know, try going to Norfair after that? This is not even a problem with the Gravity suit, because the Gravity suit is right next to an area with water. I think it's a bit of a nitpick, but I don't know. I think telling the player what the Various suit does would maybe be a little helpful. As I stated before, all the game's areas are distinct from one another. The first area you go to is Criteria, which rips level designs from the original Metroid. It's not just a cheap callback, though. It actually makes sense, because both the original Metroid and this game take place on Zebes. I especially enjoy that first time you enter when everything's all quiet, but there's like searchlights that go on whenever you collect items. Then you go up the elevator and you're met with a surprise ambush of space pirates. Brinstar is massive, but most of it is walled off when you first arrive. I love the friendly creatures here that teach you about different game mechanics, such as wall jumping. It's a good way to introduce those features without directly telling you can do that. The wreck ship is, in my opinion, the weakest area of the game. It's a well-crafted and atmospheric area, but there's not much you really do here, apart from get the gravity suit and fight Fantoon. I like the dynamic of the power being turned on upon killing the boss, though. That's a really good touch. Meridia is a sprawling underwater area, and although many people may dislike it, I don't really understand why. It's like the most open area for you to get lost in. And I know getting lost is not a good thing, but I mean, you can explore all you want. The one thing I dislike about Meridia, though, that I can't blame people, is the fucking quicksand. It's the worst. You just can't tell if a jump will make it out or not. It's so frustrating. And last but certainly not least is Norfair, which is another returning environment from the first game. Most of Norfair is hot. Hot enough to actually hurt Samus, as she doesn't have the Various suit. It's also probably the largest area in the game, thanks to a separate lower section you go to late in the game. These levels, or I guess these areas, they flow into each other in a perfect way, where you can see where you are, but it doesn't feel like separate levels. It feels like separate areas on, like, an environment. I don't think any other Metroid game has really nailed that, where it actually feels like you're in one interconnected area. At least the ones that I've played. There's probably, like, maybe Dread does that. The bosses are also really good in Super Metroid. Unlike in the previous entries, the bosses actually require some thought, rather than just being damage sponges. They're not vulnerable 100% of the time, and instead require specific actions from the player in order to damage them. For example, with Kraid, you shoot his face and he opens his mouth. The fight starts out really simple in an enclosed space, but it quickly expands into a massive arena, upping the challenge as you're forced to use the high jump and stand on the upper portion to avoid spikes below. Fantoon is a spirit, so he phases in and out, and you're forced to react when he shows up again. I think his fight is probably the weakest of the main four, but I still like it. It just takes way too long for him to become vulnerable. It's not helped by the fact that shooting him with something that does too high damage, like a super missile, actually punishes you. Dragon, on the other hand, is probably my favorite boss, as the fight is incredibly engaging. Dragon's weak point is its soft underbelly, but it forces you to look for the perfect opening because it swoops down in a really quick manner where you can't just, like, shoot it. Well, I mean, you can, but you gotta look for the opening. And there's also a secret to this boss where if you destroy the turrets and let Dragon grab you, you can shoot Grapple Beam into the exposed electricity, and it sends voltage through you and Dragon, which makes short work of her. This is a moment I look forward to in replays because it's just such an incredible example of this game's attention to detail. It rewards a player for thinking outside the box, and it's a nice way out for players not good at fighting Dragon regularly. Then there's, of course, Ridley. He might be the damage sponge, if we're gonna pick one. But I still think it's engaging. It's a contender for the best boss in the game. It's the culmination of you becoming stronger in order to rematch this beast who tormented you at the beginning of the game. There's also mini-bosses scattered throughout the world, such as Crocomire, who is probably the most memorable. He's just a little red monster who sits in a room. So of course you have to back it into acid, which melts its skin off, on screen. Brutal! Another mini-boss that I remember fondly is the first one, where you get bombs, and then the door shuts behind you, and all of a sudden a monster just slowly reveals itself, taking the form of the statue. It instills, like, a fear the first time, where you're like, oh, maybe there's an item in this room, maybe if I collect it, something might spring out at me. Like an enemy might spring out, but no. No, of course not. That's just the one time it happens. Until it happens again in Norfair, where one just, like, drops on you. It's amazing. Then, of course, the last area, Torian, is unlocked after clearing the 4 major bosses. The music is an eerie remix of Torian's theme from the first game. If you played the first game, it might feel a little familiar, because you have to deal with all the Metroids. They've already begun cloning the Metroids from the last remaining one, huh? Well, where is that original baby Metroid? Well, right here, of course! It's grown to an absolutely monstrous size. It's like a jump scare when it shows up. Sort of like the Metroids in Metroid 2. The final boss is Mother Brain, and similar to the first game, she's encased in glass that you need to shoot missiles at in order to damage her. But that's only the first phase, as then she rises up with a mechanical body and a bone-chilling roar. The Mother Brain fight is another standout moment in this game. First time it makes you feel powerless, especially when she starts blasting you with her hyper beam. Now, of course, everybody who's played the game more than 5 times, I don't know. You gotta play this more than twice. More than once, at least. More than twice. More than 10 times? Yeah, I think so. Sure, if you've played the game 100 times like I have, it's more of a playable cinematic rather than a real fight, but the spectacle for a first playthrough is fantastic. It really does feel like there's just nothing you can do to this creature. Plus she kills the baby Metroid! What the fuck? And Samus's theme starting up right as she powers up after the baby Metroid is killed, that gives me goosebumps every time. Then you have a stressful escape sequence as usual. But what's cool about it is if you go off the path, you can find the friendly creatures from earlier in the game and help them escape Zebes. How nice. This is apparently the canonical ending, as we'll see in Metroid Fusion. But you can just not do it and kill them, which is kind of sad. And well, that was a very brief summary of Super Metroid. Go play it if you want. If that sounds good to you, go play it now. But why is this game so ingrained into the public conscious? Well, I think it's a combination of things. First is the sequence breaking you can do. The game encourages breaking its own sequence, because it gives you a wall jump. It doesn't even, like, lock it behind anything. You can do it as soon as you start the game. You can wall jump off walls, and if you learn how to do it well, you can complete the game a lot quicker. It's a game. Super Metroid is a game that's incredibly fun to run through quickly, or to speed run. Super Metroid is possibly one of the most iconic speedrun games of all time. With its, it's really tight controls, and there are a lot of weird glitches you can do, like the Mach Ball, which allows you to get super missiles early. I think Super Metroid has really lived on as one of the greatest games of all time, because it is so non-linear, and it encourages breaking the sequence in new and clever ways. You know what's crazy? You can beat the bosses in the reverse order. Like I said, Kraid, Phantoon, Dragon, Ridley. Yeah, you can go the other way around. You can go Ridley, Dragon, Phantoon, Kraid, which is... How do you even do that? Apparently you can, though. Watch one of those speedruns. I encourage you. It's insane. So what do I think of Super Metroid? Well, gee, I don't know. You've been watching the video. I've only been glazing it the whole time. If it wasn't obvious, Super Metroid is one of my favorite games ever made, and it's everything I love about the Super Nintendo. As I said, I could talk about every room in this game for hours on end, but I don't have that much time. Whenever someone asks me about a retro game recommendation, because I happen to play a lot of them, if you didn't know, Super Metroid is the first one out of my mouth without fail, because if you don't like this game, you won't like anything else. Super Metroid is a 10 out of 10 game, which is the first ever perfect score for my channel. I do think it has its flaws, but there are so many positives to this game that any flaw, to me, it was hard to even come up with flaws for this game because of how great it is. This game is a shining example of what Metroid is, and what it can be, and it's done to perfection. And in this day and age, in its original form, it is fantastic. When you're done watching this video, go and play it, if you haven't, because it's like a fantastic game, really. It truly is. Like, anything I do say about it in this video just is not... It doesn't, like, cover it enough. And I'm going a bit off the script here while I'm saying this. Like, if you're watching this video and you haven't played Super Metroid somehow, then what are you doing? Go out, go get it, and play it. Get a ROM, I don't care. Get the real game. It's $100 or whatever. But like, get the game somehow and play it, because my words don't do it justice. No one else's words do it justice. It's one of the greatest games ever made. So that's my Super Metroid review. Long time coming, eh? Yeah, I've been working on this on and off. I keep getting distracted by other stuff that I've been doing. And then I got a job, so I have even less time to do things. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment. The next Metroid game is actually my favorite one, Metroid Fusion. I know, I was glazing this game. Imagine what I'll have to say about that one. Well, I don't know if I'll be playing it anytime soon. I might. Or I might not. That being said, I might start the Zelda series with Zelda 1 on NES, because I've been getting familiar with that game. So, I don't know. We'll see. I have work. I don't have all the time in the world to be making videos. I'm going to try the best I can, but you're going to have to excuse me if you have to wait another, like, 2 or 3 months before the next video, or even longer than that. However long this was. Subscribe. I'll be sure to do more at some point. I will definitely get around to playing something else. It'll be sooner rather than later, I feel like. But Metroid Fusion, if you want to see me talk about that, you're going to have to wait a while. Anyways, enough rambling. This has been MJ. Take care, and see ya.